A young clerk is abused and threatened until he gives up his job. There is one other incident more telling than this. On the 6th of March 1938, a meeting of the Bangas was held at Kasarwadi behind Woolen Mills, Dadar, Bombay, under the chairmanship of Mr. Angela Yadnik. In this meeting, one Benji boy narrated his experience in the following terms. I passed the vernacular final examination in 1933. I have studied English up to the 4th standard. I applied to the schools committee of the Bombay municipality for employment as a teacher, but I failed, as there was no vacancy. Then I applied to the backward classes officer, Ahmedabad, for the job of a Talati village patwari scribe, and I succeeded. On the 19th of February 1936, I was appointed a Talati in the office of the Mamlatdar of the Borsad Taluka in the Kheda district. Although my family originally came from Gujarat, I had never been in Gujarat before. This was my first occasion to go there. Similarly, I did not know that untouchability would be observed in government offices. Besides, in my application the fact of my being a Harijan was mentioned, and so I expected that my colleagues in the office would know beforehand who I was. That being so, I was surprised to find the attitude of the clerk of the Mamlatdar's office when I presented myself to take charge of the post of the Talati. The clerk contemptuously asked, "Who are you?" I replied, "Sir, I am a Harijan." He said, "Go away, stand at a distance. How dare you stand so near me? You are in office. If you were outside I would have given you 6 kicks. What audacity to come here for service." Thereafter, he asked me to drop on the ground my certificate and the order of appointment as a Talati. He then picked them up. While I was working in the Mamlatdar's office at Borsad, I experienced great difficulty in the matter of getting water for drinking. In the veranda of the office there were kept cans containing drinking water. There was a waterman in charge of these water cans. His duty was to pour out water to clerks in office whenever they needed it. In the absence of the watermen they could themselves take water out of the cans and drink it. That was impossible in my case. I could not touch the cans, for my touch would pollute the water. I had therefore to depend upon the mercy of the waterman. For my use there was kept a small rusty pot. No one would touch it or wash it except myself. It was in this pot that the waterman would dole out water to me. But I could get water only if the waterman was present. This waterman did not like the idea of supplying me with water. Seeing that I was coming for water, he would manage to slip away, with the result that I had to go without water. And the days on which I had no water to drink were by no means few. I had the same difficulties regarding my residence. I was a stranger in Borsad. No caste Hindu would rent a house to me. The untouchables of Borsad were not ready to give me lodgings, for the fear of displeasing the Hindus who did not like my attempt to live as a clerk, a station above me. Far greater difficulties were with regard to food. There was no place or person from where I could get my meals. I used to buy bhajas morning and evening, eat them in some solitary place outside the village, and come and sleep at night on the pavement of the verandas of the Mamlatdar's office. In this way, I passed 4 days. All this became unbearable to me. Then I went to live at Gentral, my ancestral village. It was 6 miles from Borsad. Every day I had to walk 11 miles. This I did for a month and a half. Thereafter the Mamlatdar sent me to a Talati to learn the work. This Talati was in charge of 3 villages, Gentral, Kapur and Sijpur. Gentral was his headquarters. I was in Gentral with this Talati for 2 months. He taught me nothing, and I never once entered the village office. The headman of the village was particularly hostile. Once he had said, "Your fellows, your father, your brother are sweepers who sweep the village office, and you want to sit in the office as our equal? Take care, better give up this job." One day the Talati called me to Sijpur to prepare the population table of the village. From Gentral I went to Sijpur. I found the headman and the Talati in the village office doing some work. I went, stood near the door of the office, and wished them good morning, but they took no notice of me. I stood outside for about 15 minutes. I was already tired of life, and felt enraged at being thus ignored and insulted. I sat down on a chair that was lying there. Seeing me seated on the chair, the headman and the Dalits quietly went away without saying anything to me. A short while after, people began to come, and soon a large crowd gathered round me. This crowd was led by the librarian of the village library. I could not understand why an educated person should have led this mob. I subsequently learned that the chair was his. He started abusing me in the worst terms. Addressing the Ravenia village servant, he said, "Who allowed this dirty dog of a Benji to sit on the chair?" The Ravenia unseated me and took away the chair from me. I sat on the ground. Thereupon the crowd entered the village office and surrounded me. It was a furious crowd raging with anger, some abusing me, some threatening to cut me to pieces with a daria, a sharp weapon like the sword. I implored them to excuse me and to have mercy upon me. That did not have any effect upon the crowd. I did not know how to save myself. But an idea came to me of writing to the Mamlatdar about the fate that had befallen me, and telling him how to dispose of my body in case I was killed by the crowd. Incidentally, it was my hope that if the crowd came to know that I was practically reporting against them to the Mamlatdar, they might hold their hands. I asked the Ravenia to give me a piece of paper, which he did. Then with my fountain pen I wrote the following on it in big bold letters so that everybody could read it. To the Mamlatdar, Taluka Borsad. Sir, be pleased to accept the humble salutations of Parmarkalita Shivam. This is to humbly inform you that the hand of death is falling upon me today. It would not have been so if I had listened to the words of my parents. Be so good as to inform my parents of my death. The librarian read what I wrote and at once asked me to tear it off, which I did. They showered upon me innumerable insults. You want us to address you as our Dalati? You are Benji and you want to enter the office and sit on the chair? I begged for mercy and promised not to repeat this, and also promised to give up the job. I was kept there till 7 in the evening, when the crowd left. By then the Dalati and the Mukhia had still not come. Thereafter I took 15 days leave and returned to my parents in Bombay.